Okay. Okay, well, that's very loud. Sorry. I usually don't need a mic. So apologies for starting in this session in English, but my Swedish is not great. I plan to obviously improve that over time. Very good morning to everybody and welcome to this session from Davie Shipbuilding and Helsinki Shipyard. It's going to be on lessons from global icebreaker collaboration. My name is Paul Barrett. I am the Chief Communications Officer for the group, which includes Helsinki Shipyard, Davie Shipbuilding and Davie Defence and Gulf Copper, with operations across Finland, Canada and the US. So without further ado, obviously delighted to be back here in Visby, and thanks. It's a great turnout for this morning. We were really slightly worried that it would be too early and everyone would have been out last night partying, but thank you for coming. So icebreakers are no longer simply vessels that obviously keep the sea lanes open. They become increasingly strategic assets that connect national security, economic security, and industrial capability in a very, very visceral way. The icebreaker collaboration effort, or IcePact as we know it, was signed back in 2024 and is a government partnership, government-to-government partnership between Finland, Canada, and the US. And it was really created to help kickstart the rebuild and recapitalization of Arctic capability and Western Arctic capability through closer cooperation and also information sharing, workforce development, research and development, and industrial collaboration. And there's another element to it, which is kind of a collective marketing of the fact that the Nordics can build icebreakers incredibly well, better than any other nation, and that other nations should come to the Nordics to have their icebreakers built. And the simple idea for the IcePact is that no nation can meet the Arctic challenge alone. And so obviously as an industrial partner with the IcePact, we don't speak for the three governments. Let's be absolutely clear on that. But what we do have, I think, is a unique perspective from working across all three IcePact countries. And we're the only shipbuilding group that actually does that. And we're already seeing what this new model of collaboration can potentially achieve. And just a couple of days ago, we were in Pori in Western Finland to cut steel on the first Arctic security cutter for the United States Coast Guard. That's the first government icebreaker ever to be built in the Nordic region. And in fact, the first government ship in 80 plus years to be built outside of the US itself for the US. And at the same time, Polarmat is another project that we're working on right now. That's being built between Finland and Canada for the Canadian Coast Guard. And when delivered in 2030, that's going to be the most capable and one of the most powerful modern icebreakers ever delivered to a Western government. And also that's a ship that is genuinely competitive with what Russia has in the Arctic as well. So we're very delighted to be involved in that. And obviously, these aren't just simple shipbuilding milestones. They're proof that the Ice Pact is already delivering tangible results. So we also believe fundamentally that we collectively are meeting a moment with, Swedish, Finnish icebreaker cooperation reports coming very, very soon. And we're going to be fascinated to see what conclusions are brought there. And it also reflects a growing recognition that international collaboration is actually becoming essential to preserving and strengthening our collective capability in a very, very uncertain world. And the Ice Pact is, of course, as I said, government to government. So decisions belong to government, but industrial partners, I think, can have a view on this. And one of the views that we fundamentally believe is, why can't Sweden become an Ice Pact member? It already shares some of the strategic interests. It has world-class defense capabilities and maritime needs and industrial ambitions. And formalizing that cooperation would not only strengthen Sweden, but the entire Arctic community. So our goal today is to share some of the lessons that we've learned and explore how governments and industry can work together to deliver those capabilities much, much faster, more efficiently and cost effectively than ever before. And with that, it's my pleasure to hand over to our moderator, Alan Albury. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Paul, and a very warm welcome to all of you. As you hear, my voice is not what it should be, but I'll try to manage anyway. So we'll have the first half of this seminar in English, and then we'll switch to Swedish. So I think it's fair to say that Finland and Sweden have as close cooperation as two countries can have on issues like the icebreakers. And for that reason, we are very pleased to have the Finnish ambassador here today as our keynote speaker. Mr. Olli Kantanen will give his views on both the Ice Pact, and also the Swedish Finnish cooperation in this area. So please give a very warm welcome to Olli Kantanen.
Thank you so much.
Alan.
There, Alan. Okay, I stand here. Great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. This is the first panel that I'm addressing in English language here, so it's refreshing, but I think most of the audience is maybe Swedish speaking even, but anyway, we go in English language. It's really timely. We have been discussing. I'm ambassador to Sweden since last autumn, so about 10 months now. But the icebreakers have been on my agenda for a longer time. As was mentioned by Paul, it has now been 1.5 years ago when the Ice Pact memorandum of understanding was signed in Washington in November 24, and Ice Pact has been high up on our political agendas as well. I was serving myself as the DG for Director General for Euro-Atlantic area at the Foreign Ministry at the time when the cooperation was kicked off, and obviously this was very important part of my duties to support the people who were actively working on many practicalities linked to the memorandum and negotiations around it. But as said, the baseline has of course been, and we understood from the very beginning, and it's something that brings extremely much value added for all the participant countries, Finland, Canada, and the United States. And ever since 1.5 years ago, of course, already before that, partners have met regularly. We have a structure for meetings with 4 key areas. One being technical expertise and information exchange. Second being workforce development. Third area, relations with allies and industry. And fourth, research and development. So working groups also with industries participating, but also officials participating in different formats. And since the launch of the ice pack, actually there are already concrete results that we heard about already. So several new icebreakers, construction initiatives have evolved from ideas to concrete projects, and now over 10 new icebreakers will be built in Canada, Finland, and the United States. So combining the best industry know-how and collaboration between the governments adds value, and this is why actually the whole exercise has been kicked off. So if I would just say in one sentence maybe why we have this, all in all, ice pact ensures that the 3 participating countries and our allies will have access to the most modern icebreakers and other Arctic vessels. So this is kind of the concrete thing. But if you look beyond that, so why did we start the ice pack operation, and what is ice pack all about? Aside of this, it was obviously also developed against the backdrop of a growing strategic importance of the Arctic and polar regions in economic, environmental, safety, and security terms. And there we saw the shared goal of ice pack countries to ensure that this region are stable, prosperous and secure. So much wider scope, of course. And icebreakers and other ice-capable vessels are critical to support comprehensive security, defense, trade and economy, security of supply, search and rescue, preparedness, marine environmental protection and response, sustainable development of Arctic communities, and research in the region. All very important topics that at least I have been discussing in different settings also during this Almedal meeting here this year. And obviously things that in the Arctic especially are more and more in the focus. So then when we talk about security, so Finland obviously as Sweden and many other countries here in the room see the Arctic region as a very instrumental and inseparable component of both European and the transatlantic security, and with the backdrop, of course, Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine, which means weakened predictability in the Arctic region, and of course, also China playing ever bigger role and interest in the region. At the present, we saw also that the icebreaker capabilities of NATO allies remain critically low compared to Russia. And then, as I mentioned, China, it's also rapidly increasing its capabilities. So safeguarding allies' operational capacity in the Arctic is something that is also strategically very important for all of us. And I'm not sure how much you have been discussing at this forum the dependencies from producers, but many things here also discuss the strategic dependencies and independencies. So this is of course one of area where it's very important to build on our own strengths as well. We have seen large volumes of commercial shipbuilding, even orders for public sector moving to other parts of the world, especially to Asia. And that means, of course, if you think of both security and industrial policy terms, that our domestic capacity in Europe or in North American countries has become more fragmented and partly even diminished. So this has a wider economic security aspect to be noticed. So with this backdrop, the IcePact is one of the answers to these challenges and providing a framework, structured framework to share and rebuild capability, to develop common practices, strengthen industrial ecosystems, and interoperability across partner nations. And this is how we can design and construct also demanding vessels for our nations and for our allies. So we had yesterday Finnish Minister for Economics, Mr. Puisto, here discussing also icebreakers, and we all know that the icebreakers belong to the vessels that are most complex in this world to build. And the whole design and construction challenge is something that you need to have the ecosystem around to do it. And this is obviously also one of the strengths that we have in Finland. And now I come to this region, Finland and Sweden. And we heard about the concrete projects that also the host of this event is now involved in both the Canada's Max icebreaker, which is built in Helsinki at Lewis shipyards, and also the U.S. Coast Guard vessels that will be delivered from shipyards located in Finland and the U.S. So concrete things going on. Regarding the cooperation between Finland and Sweden and icebreakers, so of course, from the outset, both Finland and Sweden, we are heavily dependent on maritime traffic, and winter navigation is something that requires extra attention here and to maintain the all year round navigation on our seas. And winter navigation is essential to our society, our economy, and it serves both businesses and industries, but also the security aspects that I mentioned earlier. So it's a question of for example national security of supply, very important. Over 95% of the goods to Finland come through the seas. So that's why it's easy to understand how important icebreaking capabilities are. And currently, both Finland and Sweden are in the process of renewing their aging icebreaking fleet, and we are also doing this in good cooperation. Finland and Sweden are currently finalizing their joint report on winter navigation, and the report answers to several fundamental questions. What kind of icebreakers will we need in the next 20 to 50 years? How the merchant fleet changing due the how is the fleet changing due the environmental regulations? What will the future ice conditions be given the changing climate? How can Finland and Sweden cooperate in designing, building, and operating in the future icebreakers? And based on the report, both countries prepare national investments and investment plans which need to be aligned with each other. And the common task is, of course, to see that we have a fleet of icebreakers which has the required capacity of larger and smaller icebreakers, and that can ensure the service level and guarantee cost efficiency. And this is, of course, one point where the ISPAC comes into the picture. And as I initially mentioned, ISPAC is currently a non-binding strategic agreement between Canada, Finland, and US. But then it is now also possible for other like-minded countries to participate in ISPAC and cooperation and benefit also from it both in the short and longer term. And ISPAC countries can undoubtedly offer the best comprehensive solutions for icebreakers for all the allies. And this is not merely a commercial or competitive matter, but it's very much about wider industrial and security policy aspects. Also, the ones that I noticed that or mentioned earlier. So, in other words, prospective members such as Sweden may engage with ISPAC by procuring icebreakers or ice-capable vessels from shipyards in a ISPAC country, Finland, Canada, US. Such procurement opens opportunities for technical cooperation and alignment with the ISPAC standards and deeper collaboration across relevant ISPAC work stream. And for Finland and Sweden, of course, we have been working very closely already historically together on icebreakers. Part of the ecosystem that I mentioned is the current ecosystem is also partly common for us Finns and Swedes. So it's very actually low hanging fruit for us to cooperate even closer according to same standards. So in that sense, I believe there will be positive steps taken ahead also in the coming years and months regarding the ISPAC cooperation, and we see really concrete results already through this cooperation, and I think it's worthwhile for Sweden to be continuously interested in the work, as we have our common also Baltic and Arctic Sea challenges here to our countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador. And now I'd like to welcome Mika Hässinen, the CEO of Helsinki Shipyard, up on the stage. So, one applause for Mika. Please stay, Mr. Ambassador.
Yes.
But Mika, now you have a chance to give us your elevator pitch of Helsinki Shipyard. This is a very old and very prestigious shipyard that is not very well known in Sweden. So tell us about Helsinki Shipyard.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Alan. Great to see so many of you. Also, Minister of Employment from Finland. Welcome to the event. I think that we are in a great place. We are in an living the interesting world. More than 50% of the globally operating icebreakers has been built in Helsinki Shipyard. More than 80% of the icebreakers operating on the seven seas has been designed in Finland. So I believe that that's a great testimony and great fact that we know what we are doing, and it's great to build the future also based on that legacy, based on that know-how that was the future. Indeed, in Helsinki and in Pori today, we operate two shipyards in Finland, the Pori shipyard, the Mantelon shipyard, where we are focusing into that building the steel, assembling the steel, and then in Helsinki shipyard where we are assembling the steel blocks together and commissioning and finalizing the ships together. We are today about 700 persons, and in the following 12 months we are raising up to about 100 own employees, and there will be totally about 2,000 persons visiting daily at the daily shipyards doing their work for our shipbuilding programs. ISPACT, as mentioned many times here by the ambassador and Alan, is playing a really essential thing for the shipbuilding program. What we have also today, we don't do only icebreakers, we are focusing also on the passenger ships and offshore structures. But it goes without saying that since our order book is now completely covered with icebreakers, we are building the formats for Canada. We are building the two Arctic security cutters to the United States. It's an essential part of the business, but it's also turn it around a core know-how what we are now utilizing then for the industrial needs. I think that being positioned in here, it's an interesting following 10 to 15 years what we have in forward in minimum. We are projecting that the icebreaker boom is like a golden era, what is going on. There are three main reasons what are then kind of building that demand. Number one is the aging fleet. I think that here in Sweden, you very well recognize that the ships are getting older, they need to be renewed. There's a need for new tonnage. That goes very well also to Finland, to other Baltic Sea countries. That's one dominator that goes to USA, to Canada as well. But another area is definitely then, I would say, climate change. Climate change, which is then impacting and changing the world, is also making the Arctic seas, Arctic regions very interesting for 3-4 reasons. There's a security defense, like Ambassador mentioned. There are also natural reserves what are then coming open for utilization. And then thirdly, it's really the improved transport, maritime transport. You have the Northwest Passage, for instance, opening for the operation. Icebreakers are needed.
Yeah, but could I ask you, if we focus on ice pack, what would you, both of you, say is what has Finland, what has been the main benefits for Finland of being part of the ice pack? So if you go first, Mr. Ambassador.
Definitely many issues that I mentioned already, but then having a framework that where we agree upon the principles and actually for industrial needs also the standards.
Yeah.
So going forward with that is important. But one thing that I didn't mention earlier is, for example, entering the North American market. We here in Europe we have the internal market,
Yeah.
as we know, but then the US and Canada actually have
Know-how sharing and market access. Okay.
yeah, that's
And from your perspective, Mika.
Well, first of all, I think that we have been trying to sell icebreakers to North America since 50s, and now we succeeded. That's a real concrete
That's a very
example.
concrete.
I think that the ice pack together is also we shouldn't be and trying to solve this mission alone as a one country. I believe that the ice pack is a great testimony for bringing the different countries, their know-hows and also the needs together, which is then waking up the ability and the possibility to making a good business, but also solve the equation, solve the needs of the different countries.
Very good. Last question to both of you. Do you think Sweden has a place in the ice pack? Would it be beneficial for the ice pack if Sweden joined?
as I mentioned, I think personally I think it would add value and the Finnish Swedish industrial base is working so close to each other. That's already one very good point of access and what I also mentioned is that renewing the fleets both in Finland and Sweden need to pay that attention upon.
Very good. Mika, last word.
I think that it's a twofold thing. That there's a question what Sweden can offer for the ice pack, but also what ice pack can bring for Sweden. And I believe that there are many things. There's huge experience in the Swedish maritime industry. There are great companies. There is great know-how for the propulsion development. There's also a lot of statistics and understanding about the ice breaking. And also, I believe that could bring something for ice pack, but I'm sure also that the ice pack could bring a lot of work for Sweden and a lot of welfare in Sweden as well. So definitely, we should consider that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Nu byter vi till svenska och så ska jag be att få välkomna upp vår panel som består av Maria Stockhaus som är moderat riksdagsledamot och som sitter i trafikutskottet. Så har vi Johan Duva som är vd för Transportrådet, det vill säga en organisation som representerar köpare av transportinfrastruktur. Så en stor applåd för Johan och Maria. Ja, först vill jag bara fråga er båda egentligen detta samarbete som kallas IcePack. Tror ni att det kan vara något för Sverige? Känner ni till det som sedan tidigare?
Absolut, jag känner till det väl och jag tror absolut att det är något som Sverige skulle kunna vara bra både för de länderna som är i IcePack idag men också framförallt för Sverige om vi gick med i det samarbetet. Det tror jag skulle vara väldigt bra.
Ja. Vad säger Johan?
Jag känner till det delvis för, men jag tror absolut att det skulle kunna gynna det. Alltså, isbrytningsfrågan är någonting som är högt upp på agendan för många av mina medlemmar. Framförallt inom den del som jobbar med tung industri.
Ja. Johan, kan inte du berätta lite mer om hur ser så att säga, dina medlemmars behov av isbrytning ut?
Ja, absolut. Näringslivets transportråd har då flertal branschorganisationer som medlemmar och sen deras företag. Så vi har skogsindustrierna till exempel och järnkontoret och Svemin så vi har ju alltså tung stålindustri, gruvindustri och skogsindustri med många som är belägna i norr som är helt beroende av att det finns fungerande isbrytning. Det är som de upplever att det är en bristande tillförlitlighet och tillgänglighet och man inte riktigt har den här möjligheten att planera i förväg och känna att ens kunder kan lita på leverans kanske.
Och det beror då på att flottan är så föråldrad.
Precis. Vi pratar ju mycket om att det har varit underhållsskuld på väg och järnväg, men det finns ju även när det gäller isbrytarflottan. Sen kanske inte det påverkar privatpersoner lika mycket så att det inte blir en lika uppmärksammat. Godset har ju som bekant ingen egen röst.
Och Maria, som representant för politiken här, vad beror det egentligen på att vi har hamnat lite på hälarna här när det gäller förnyelsen av isbrytarflottan?
Jag tror att det är lite grann samma som när det gäller underhåll i övrigt på väg och järnväg. Att det är roligare att klippa band på nya projekt än att se till att underhålla det som man redan har och se till att det funkar. Så jag tror att det är, och det är lite grann som du säger också, att det kanske isbrytning som väljarna pratar om dagligdags och en nationell plan tas ju normalt precis innan ett val. Sen var det faktiskt förra mandatperioden så fick vi igenom, då satte vi i opposition, att en ny isbrytare, tyvärr så definierade vi inte mer än en, eller vi sa att isbrytare ska in och det blev bara en, men så det var ju, där var ju riksdagen ganska tydlig mot den förra regeringen och sa att vi behöver få in en isbrytare i nationell plan och det blev ju så att det är därför vi har den upphandlingen som nu är gjord.
Men fortsätt vända med dig Maria, vad tror du, vad vill du så att säga skicka med här för den fortsatta förnyelsen av flottan? Nu har vi då precis från Sveriges sida beställt en ny isbrytare, men vi har i resten av flottan 6 ytterligare fartyg som också behöver förnyas. Vad tänker du blir viktigt framåt? Och då vill jag särskilt liksom också be dig fundera på det vi säger nu om Sveriges roll i Arktis, det är ambassadören som strategiska beroenden och så vidare, plus det svensk-finska samarbetet och vad det kan betyda på det.
I den nya planen så finns det ju pengar till ytterligare en stor isbrytare eller till 2 små. Och jag tycker att innan vi liksom går vidare med den upphandlingen så behöver vi fundera över ska vi ansluta oss till Icepack och vad har det för sånt för påverkan på de här framtida upphandlingarna. Så den tycker jag är viktig att ta, för just alltså ju mer man lär sig om Arktisfrågor desto mer rädd blir man faktiskt för hur det ser ut. Att med hur Kina och Ryssland faktiskt dominerar när det gäller möjligheten att köra med isbrytare i Arktisområdet. Och då behöver ju den demokratiska världen faktiskt steppa upp. Och då tror jag Icepack är jätteviktigt och det behöver vi ha med oss framåt när vi upphandlar isbrytare. Sen har vi också forskningsisbrytare på gång om vi ska ersätta Oden. Men där håller vi nu på. Det ska bli en ny forskningsisbrytare. Det första steget att titta på finansiering, för där brukar vi ha samarbete med flera länder.
Och Johan, från ditt perspektiv, vad tycker du vad är liksom viktigaste parametrarna att beakta när vi nu fortsätter att förnya vår flotta?
Ja, jag tänker en aspekt som kommer in när vi pratar om beredskap. Det är ju svårt att se någonting som är mer dual use än just isbrytare kanske. Så att viktigt att titta på den här frågan och utreda om man ska gå in i det här samarbetet men samtidigt inte låta det gå för långt här tidsmässigt. Tidsutdräkten det behövs lite angelägenhet i frågan.
Just det, att hålla tempot uppe är särskilt viktigt, ja. Och om vi ska säga någonting om det, vad tror ni, vad är det som behövs för att vi ska hålla tempot uppe? Vad är det som ligger i vägen för att skruva upp hastigheten så att säga? Maria, vill du säga något?
Alltså det är ju det här med att jobba snabbt och demokratiska processer och politiska processer och det som krävs av underlag och bearbetning för att komma fram till besluten. Det kan man ibland bli frustrerad över, absolut. Men jag minns att det finns en sense of urgency när det gäller de här arktiska frågorna. Det finns utifrån försvar och beredskap och också att det faktiskt är ganska mycket av våra basindustri som är beroende av isbrytning. Då skulle jag vilja säga utifrån mitt eget partis sida så har vi sett att man behöver titta på brett också. Så kan man hur mycket isbrytare behöver väga själva och finns det möjligheter att köpa isbrytning som tjänst för att komplettera. Att ha liksom, det är viktigt att man hittar bra och liksom, partners i det, men det kanske inte är så att staten behöver äga alla isbrytare.
Så helt enkelt lite alternativa
Ja, alltså lite liksom titta lite bredare. Och jag tror det här samarbetet med Finland och titta på sjöfarten i stort och hur ser behoven ut. Det tror jag är väldigt viktigt, för det är dyra investeringar.
Det får man säga. Och om vi skulle stanna upp en sekund, jag tror att 3 av Sveriges 6 isbrytare är då byggda i Finland. Vi har ett ganska omfattande samarbete på det operativa området med Finland. Och på tisdag tror jag det är, så kommer då den här rapporten som ambassadören nämnde från den gemensamma expertgruppen med som ska utreda ytterligare hur Finlands samarbete kan fördjupas. Vad skulle ni hoppas eller förvänta er på av den rapporten?
Tycker det, när vi är inne på det här med samverkan i ett gemensamt innanhav, känns ju ganska naturligt att man på så sätt kan optimera resurserna på bästa sätt. Jag tror att det är viktigt för att få ut mesta möjliga för pengarna.
Ja, just gärna konkret, vad är liksom nästa steg? Alltså, rapporter kan ju också ibland bli väldigt liksom, högt upp. Jag hoppas att det är lite mer konkret också.
Ja, och framförallt till dig Maria, vi hörde ju både ambassadören och Micke här beskriva hur så att säga, den globala efterfrågan på isbrytare ökar ganska snabbt. Också från länder som tidigare inte har varit så intresserade av isbrytning. Är detta någonting som ni tror du att man från så att säga, den svenska statens sida fullt ut beaktar risken för att vi ska liksom hamna lite sist i kön?
Jag tror att vi har börjat bli medvetna om det, men att man kanske underskattat den risken, och det här efterfrågan på väldigt många isbrytare snabbt. Det har ju kommit väldigt snabbt. Det är klart att det kan påverka våra möjligheter att få fram isbrytare, det tror jag absolut.
Och då ska vi börja avrunda här. Så jag tänker, Johan, om du så att säga och dina medlemmars vägnar här får göra ett litet medskick till kanske Maria som får representera hela politiken då i Sverige. Vad skulle det vara?
Antingen har länge drivit frågan att den ekonomiska modellen kanske inte hänger ihop, eller anslagsfinansiering av isbrytningen så att man har en stabil ekonomi över tid.
Och Maria, du får både respondera på det och ge din så att säga, slutreflektion här kring vad du tror om Sveriges möjligheter i internationellt samarbete här på isbrytarområdet.
När det gäller frågan om hur man ska finansiera isbrytningen, den hänger ihop med hela Sjöfartsverkets finansiering, och det är någonting som det finns en utredning, den behöver vi titta på, för det är inte hållbart så som det är långsiktigt. Så den kommer ju definitivt att landa i knät på nästa regering, oavsett vilken den blir. Sen så att jag tror att vi har hittills tittat mer på hur vi ska köpa svenska isbrytare, eller vi ska köpa isbrytare till Sverige. Jag upplever att vi har öppnat upp mycket mer för ett internationellt samarbete, och jag hoppas verkligen att vi kommer att ansluta oss till Icepact i närtid.
Vilka fina slutord. Stort tack till er båda och stort tack till er som har kommit och lyssnat. Tack.